The Union already starts their turn with a 15-point counter, to which we have 50, giving them 65 points. I don't think these command points are being burned up quite as much as we would think they ought to be. Might need to do some tinkering when we're using just a division of the line versus a division of the line instead of a core versus core. Moving on to the next thing. I'm not really happy with this situation that happened there. I do want to fire my artillery at him, and I can if I make a facing change. I think the assumption is that he's already facing directly toward that Union piece anyway. So let's look at what it says about captures for artillery. Can he capture a troop type of a different kind? Artillery commands at a distance, in spite of all intervening pieces, may, without moving, be put hostile ones of any order, in other words, of any troop type, or de combat, by removing them from such squares as come within the 3 square range. This unit removes all of these all of these Confederate infantry, but the standard does not get removed. That's very important because the standard is a potential victory condition if the Union was able to go over there and snatch it. I had not moved a single thing during the Union turn, so that capture only costs 5 points, right? Which is why they tell you that a wise player will affect the captures at the beginning of the turn. Let me think about this pretty hard. He's affected a capture. He's affected a capture. So he can't fire again. So I am safe to move that infantry forward. And as a matter of fact, there is no longer anything threatening him. So now I think I need to switch to my rules about crossing the river. First, let's move him into the river. Is it considered covered if the piece is neutralized? Good question. Is it covered if the piece is neutralized? A piece commands or covers the square it can fire upon. A piece may not be able to command the squares within its regular move if its ability to fire upon them is hindered. A piece commands or covers the squares. I think we have to consider the move here to be covered, even though that artillery battery has fired already. So when it comes to movement, I need to make a standard infantry move costing me 3 points per inch. So it'll take me 3 inches to get into the middle of that river, and at least 2 of them are going to be covered. So this is going to cost me 1. That cost me 1 point, and then that cost me actually 3 and 3. So that would be 1 plus 3 plus 3 is 7 points to make that move. Opposed crossings. Oh, that's right. This is fording a river. To cross the ford, I'm going to treat this as though 2 squares were crossed. So I need to actually charge another 3 points for that last square there. So that takes me down to 50. This is an opposed crossing. I'm opposed by infantry or artillery. I'm actually opposed by unanswered hostile artillery, which is a 4-to-1 set of odds. Is my crossing attempt helped by my own artillery? I'm going to say yes. So it's going to be 3-to-1. 3-to-1 odds. My target number is 10. And then if I fail this roll, bad things happen. I got an 11. Nothing bad happens. I am actually able to make the crossing. So I moved 1, 2, 3 inches directly. He can move 4 inches directly forward, but crossing the river counts as 2 inches. So he can't move any further forward, but he has successfully crossed and will not have to make this roll again unless he gets pushed back. So that's that for that section. Okay, this episode brought to you by Gatorade and by Ray-Ban. Ray-Ban for all your sunglasses needs. All right, what we have here is the continuation of turn number 35. We are on the Union side, just attempting to force a crossing down there. So we've handled everything regarding this. I can't move forward and capture that standard. I was already thinking ahead to what the Confederate player might do. Over here, so here's the situation. If I try to move out of fire, I have to spend a considerable amount of points for this guy to move backwards out of fire. That has to be done making the artillery regular move, which is like a bishop, it's on the diagonal. So I could move diagonally this way, and then to get back in to fire range here of this infantry unit, and perhaps out of range of that artillery unit, is going to be problematic because I, once again, need to be on the diagonal. So there aren't a lot of good options here without reshuffling everything. Okay, so I've got 50 points, and this is another consideration too, right? I've come to the conclusion that starting next turn, I should reduce the number of points, perhaps, to 25 per counter, because since we only have a division of the line, I think we have far too many command points to make this tracking back and forth worthwhile. Now we are going to begin tracking the baggage. There, if you recall from the scenario, there are 18 pieces of baggage that are not on board. Every turn that the Union doesn't have a piece across the river, he must forfeit 2 of these pieces of baggage, and eventually he will be out of baggage and will not be able to succeed at the scenario. So for every turn that blue fails to have 2 units on the Confederate side of the river during the general engagement phase, that costs him 2 pieces of baggage. I might change that up to just 1 for 1. Okay, it's been several days, and I have no idea what's going on with the game other than it's still the Union turn. I have relatives coming here in about 30 minutes, allegedly. I've got to wrap this game up. Also, my new map board, my topo map, should be arriving, and so should my 18mm minis from Fun Games. So next time you see this, if I redo this, it's going to be a much different format. Okay, I think the 50-point counter was designed for the core level engagement, and because we're doing a division line engagement on both sides, we're not really running into problems with the counter causing difficulties in making command decisions. So I think starting in the next turn, if we continue this, we will move to 25 command points per counter. So I'll reduce the amount that's in the reserves, as well as changing the counter that they receive every turn. Baggage is being tracked now because when you're crossing the river with 2 units on the blue side, the red side must forfeit 2 units, two pieces of baggage per turn. And conversely, every turn from this point forward that blue does not have 2 units on the other side of the river, I'm penalizing them 2 pieces of baggage. 6 pieces of baggage are out here on the table. So anyway, that's where it stands. Did I do any additional movement? I don't recall what I have moved prior to this. I do know that these are all neutralized. The only way I'm going to break this situation is by getting another unit across the river. Cavalry, potentially there's a case in table number I think, of probabilities in Totten's Volume 2, which deals with cavalry crossing an opposed situation, an obstacle, basically. These guys can hop over if they use a regular move. So my question is, if I do a regular move, first of all, how far can I go? And I looked at the rules. It's to the extent, so it's 7. The answer is 7. Regardless of how I do it, that's the maximum I can do. So if I do a regular move, I'll be hopping these guys basically 2, 1, 2, and over 1, and over 2, and up 1. That's going to be a total of 6. I can't get there this turn, but I could hop over next turn, and I would be sheltered. So I think I'm going to go ahead and make this move right now. And I can even move it one further in maneuver because he's not under fire. I can switch now from regular movement to maneuver move and get my additional 1 out of this. So I'm going to bring him right up to within 1 inch of that unit. And that is going to be all 7 points expended for him. Take us down to 43. Are we doing on time? We didn't start the timer. Can I get anybody else into the battle over here? And the answer is yeah, I guess I could get that cavalry in there eventually. You can displace by fire if this unit was in the river and I had this infantry unit immediately behind him. I'm able to shoot over the unit using the basic rules, but I don't see that circumstance setting up. Same thing, he's an inch back from the river. This guy has an oblique angle. I don't think I should bring him up. So what am I left with here? I'm left with a bunch of infantry, one that's not deployed yet. I gotta get that one deployed. Let's get that moving. So bringing him on the board and putting him oblique. 50 minus 7 is 43. Minus 3 is 40. Okay. Decision time. I've got enough units stacked over here. I need to bring these guys over. So I can bring these guys over 4 and 4. 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, if I'm duplicating moves, it's because the last move I did was 2 days ago, and frankly, I didn't have time to review the tape either. Takes me down to 32. Keep these guys stacked up. He's still good to stack. Where should I put my general? I could potentially get the general into action over there. I think I really should. He can move like cavalry up to 7. So I'm going to do a maneuver move as if he was cavalry, moving 7. There's nothing else I want to move, so I'm going to call that the end of the turn for this guy. And that puts 25 in the IOU bucket. And that zeroes out everything here. And that is the end of turn number 35.